Hey guys, welcome to today's episode of The Corner Store. This episode is a little. This episode is supposed to be a tragic episode. I don't even know how to put this episode out, like the terms of this episode. But guys, well, first of all, I want to say I'm a little bit late on this episode, but I felt like it was necessary to put this episode out instead of just like, okay, this is like just an idea that I can't put out no more because it's not relevant. Because I feel like this situation will always be relevant, and I'm doing today's episode is about Owen Hart. If you guys don't know who Owen Hart is, Owen Hart was a professional wrestler who was part of the most prestigious wrestling families in Canada, especially the world. To be honest with you, he was part of the Hart family. He was the 10th son of Stu Hart, who is like a legend an icon in Canada, especially Calgary. And tragically, he passed away during a live event in the WWF. The WWE, at that point, named the WWF. So I'm gonna tell you guys about my thoughts. So first, I want to say that the reason why I'm bringing up this episode is because about a month ago, Dark Side of the Ring came out with their last episode, which involved the whole tragic situation where Owen Hart died in the live event. He died because stunt went horribly wrong. He dropped 80 feet down to the mat. They said that his chest and neck hit the turnbuckle. It's just gruesome. And I'm gonna tell you guys about my thoughts because I've known about the situation for the longest, and I've always been like asking questions about why, like how, all this stuff. Because I first heard about the situation when I was, I believe 11 years old, and then like I always was asking why, like how did this happen? Why did this happen? And then I'm gonna tell you guys my thoughts watching the episode, and then I went back to go watch the pay-per-view. The pay-per-view is called Over the Edge, and I've seen the pay-per-view many times, but I have to watch that episode, and after I watched that pay-per-view with a different lens. So I'm gonna tell you guys what I thought about before. So before, of course, it was a terrible situation. The person that I am, I wanted to know more about it at that time when I was 11 years old, when I first heard about it and like try to like research it. But then at that point I was like, I can't find all the answers, so let me just lay to rest. The first time that the thought of me trying to find out what happened again was actually recently. I think it was last year. I watched an interview with Val Venus. I don't know his real name, to be honest. But Val Venus, a former professional wrestler, he talked about the time that that night. He talked about that night. Val Venus said that he saw him. He saw the EMTs bringing him backstage, and then he said that he saw his eyes and he already knew that he was gone. I used to ask myself, was he still breathing after the fact? Did they know it was over? So I try to go back to one video, right? And then they like, you know how YouTube is. YouTube for the longest has been clickbait worthy. So I seen a video of him like coming down the rafters, and then like he couldn't get out. And then you had Steve Blackman, the wrestler, try to like hit him with the kendo stick or whatever. And in my head, I'm saying to myself, I'm like, Steve Blackman was literally the last person who could do that. Well, the last person that saw him, and then was doing that. He should have found a way to get him out. That's in my head. I was an 11-year-old kid at that point, because after watching the Val Venus thing, I felt like that was the real video. But then I found out that happened before. So when I heard that the Dark Side of the Ring was coming out with the episode, the Owen Hart episode, it was like gratifying to me. I could finally get the answers I want, because if you ever watch the Dark Side of the Ring, you get a lot of answers get a lot of questions answered from that. So I'm gonna take a moment to talk about the Dark Side of the Ring, the review of it. I've seen basically the whole second season. There's only one episode I didn't watch because I didn't want to watch it. I don't like. It was about New Jack City. I don't give a damn about New Jack. I don't care. I don't care for him. I'm gonna leave it at that. I don't care for him. But I recommend that series, especially if you're an avid wrestling fan like I am, or I guess I was because I don't really watch wrestling like that no more. But I'm still in tune with it. Like I'll go and watch a pay-per-view or whatever. But watching those episodes, knowing thing is about wrestling is that we all know wrestling is an act. It's a predetermined act, but at the same time, it's a very gruesome, very high demanding sport. Like you guys say, oh, it's fake and all that stuff. I mean, yes, it's an act. I mean, there's a lot of things that are acted, but at the end of the day, when those guys are wrestling, like they're still doing athletic moves and all that stuff. And then the worst part about it is the travel. Those guys work about 360 days a year. They have to from one house show, they have to drive to another city. They had to take a plane from Europe and then do a Raw in Michigan. Like it's taxing. It's taxing. Not a lot of people could do that. So I give wrestlers all the credit in the world. I've always have that wrestling is fake thing never like deterred me away from wrestling like I heard it did for a lot of people. So there's that. But the Dark Side of the Ring, it tells me the first episode I was hooked watching the first episode of the Chris Benoit because I had questions about the Chris Benoit and then I got most of the answers that I wanted. Stories I didn't even think I would be interested in, I was interested in. Just like I forget his name, the guy that was coked up. I forget the name, but there's so many episodes like that. I heard about the Montreal Screwjob. I even went back to watch season 1 and seen things like the Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth. All those things. It's so informative. I recommend it. It's on Vice. However you watch your videos, you can find it on YouTube or whatever. But I recommend it. So one of the biggest things about the Dark Side of the Ring is that Vincent Kennedy McMahon, the chairman of the board, he is wrestling. He is the last relic we have that merges the early days of wrestling becoming like a big promotion to now. And that's Vince McMahon. It's a shame that there's a lot of questions that we want to ask Vince, but Vince is so protective of the WWE Shield, he will never answer those questions. He'll take those things to his grave. I heard that there's going to be a documentary coming out on Vince, but it's going to be WWE produced, and he's in charge of it. So there's a lot of questions you want to ask Vince, but you really can't because he's protecting and rightfully so. He's protecting the Shield, the WWE logo. But every story always wraps around Vince. It always goes into Vince. Vince this. Vince they try to bring this wrestler to Vince. This promotion tried to team up with Vince. So Vince, like I said, he's the relic. He understands everything that's going on. He has all the knowledge. He is literally he's Pandora's box in the flesh. Like in the wrestling world, Pandora's box in the flesh. All these stories, like he understands the backstory. The Jimmy Fly Snuka, that was an episode on him. He knows about that. Things that we want answers on, he will take those things to the grave. Now they try to paint a picture of Vince McMahon. Like a lot of episodes have shown that Vince is like a scumbag or whatever, and even after watching the Owen Hart episode, I don't see Vince any other way. I see Vince as a businessman, a guy that's business first, a guy that's he cares for you, but it's in a way where like he still doesn't sever that employer-employee relationship unless unless it's a 10-year relationship. So like an example would be like the Undertaker, like him and the Undertaker, their relationship is tremendous, tremendous. So I still have respect for him. Every human has problems. It seems the more money that you have, the more problems you go through. And like I said, the biggest problem for Vince McMahon is his motto, his head is business over everything. So with that being said, now let me give you guys some backstory on Owen Hart. Owen Hart, like I said, he's part of the wrestling family of the Harts. That's equivalent to, I say, the Mannings, the Bosas, I guess the Rivers in football and basketball. I don't know. There's not really no basketball. Oh, the Currys. Yeah, he started off in WWE as the Blue Blazer, which is a little sickening and like disheartening to say that, because he started off as the Blue Blazer and he ended off as the Blue Blazer. But he became the Blue Blazer at the beginning, and then he transitioned back to regular Owen Hart. And then what popped him off was his rivalry with his brother, his older brother. Which I found out while listening to Martha Hart, was that's Owen Hart's wife, and then I'm gonna talk about her in a few, because her, like, she's tremendous. But that Bret Hart was about 10 years older than Owen. I didn't know that. So that made Owen Hart like the man. Like, Owen Hart arrived. He wasn't gonna be no regular like low mid card or someone that is an act. He was legitimate. They made him decorate. They made him win 2 Slammys. I remember those promos. He'd be like, I won 2 Slammys. I got 2 Slammys. All that stuff. That's cool. That's real cool. So now he's great. Everybody knows he's great. But then you're trying to transition into the Attitude Era. And also, you had the Montreal Screwjob before the Attitude Era officially jumps off. And within the Montreal Screwjob, Martha on Talk Is Jericho said that Owen wanted to leave. He requested to leave, but the WWF at the time in his contract was more so you could leave, but you can't wrestle anywhere else. So basically, you're basic captain. You're basic captain up until your contract is over. And then also, they gave him a big bonus because of what happened with Bret and how the situation with Bret occurred. So it helped him to stay, but they had no direction for him. They had no I guess vision for him, because at that time the Attitude Era was more so gimmicks than wrestling. Like as now, if you watch wrestling now, the gimmicks are okay, but it's more about the wrestling, like the high flying and all that stuff, which is pretty cool. I grew up on the gimmicks plus the wrestling, but more so the gimmicks and I guess more squash matches or whatever. But so that's what happened. So basically now to get to the dark side of the ring and the things I learned, one of the most chilling moments of that episode was the day he was leaving to go to Kansas City, because that's where Over the Edge was taking place in Kansas City, Missouri. He takes his son, Owen Hart, to the airport so he could pick up, I believe it's Martha's mother, and then Martha's mother would drive Owen back to to home as Owen is leaving to go to work. Last time he sees his family was on May 22nd, 1999. And he tells Oj, take care of your mom. Take care of your sister. Those words, that saying, those statements are so chilling. They're so chilling. That was his last time seeing his son. And he told his son, hey, you gotta be the man in the house now. Not knowing what was gonna happen tomorrow. Not knowing what was gonna happen tomorrow. Those were the most chilling words I heard. Well, I guess second most chilling words. So I guess we could talk about his death now. So his death, he was being rigged. He had to be rigged because they were making a joke on the Sting character. The Sting character always comes out the Raptors and then he glides down and then he does that. So basically their thing was, okay, let's use the Blue Blazer as someone that he's going down the ceiling and then he doesn't know how to get out. So apparently he comes back home and then as he's coming back home, they called Martha Stewart. Martha, I was trying to say Martha Stewart. He tried to call Martha Hart and say, "Oh, we need him to come back, and then we need to get his measurements for it because we just put in that he has to do the entrance, which is coming down the ceiling because he didn't do the entrance all the time, coming down the ceiling." And then what the plan was to save, they say to save 2 seconds, 3 seconds of airtime was to make sure that he could come down and then like he'll drop like let's say like he'll drop like 10 feet down to the ground to basically rib Sting and WCW. Owen didn't want to do it. Owen wasn't a fan of doing that. Owen, JR says in Dark Side that Owen said he was afraid of heights. Owen was afraid of heights. So Owen basically does it. You know, he goes in there. He does it. He talks to Godfather about the plan and what's gonna happen. And they said that he actually did the stunt. He practiced the stunt, and then the tragedy happened the next day. Well, like later that night. Yeah, it'll be later that night. May 23rd, 1999. He was supposed to come down. They had his promo of him talking. So basically, the last thing he's really hearing, or should be hearing, because I feel like at that moment I wouldn't even know. But at that moment, when you're falling, expecting to die, basically, you block out everything. But throughout the whole arena, his voice is being echoed throughout the whole arena. Voice echoed as he's falling down. And these are the most chilling parts of the documentary. There was a hook called Martha described it as a sales hook, where it's supposed to you put it on and then once it feels 6 pounds of pressure, it opens up. 6 pounds of pressure. I don't know what Mr. McMahon was thinking about, but that's I to be honest, I don't even think Mr. McMahon even understood the severity of that. He thought that this new crew of riggers were capable enough to make that happen, but as we've seen and tragically seen, that was not the case. The two most important people, especially in the dark side of the ring, the two most important people that had statements that I was just like, oh my gosh, how did they go through it? Was JR and Martha. JR and Martha Hart. JR literally had to tell, and JR said that the way he got it was because Jerry the King Lawler tapped him or like elbowed him, and then he at line of sight he saw it, and then I could only imagine. Actually, I don't even want to imagine seeing something like that. Also, to be honest, there was another podcast I was watching about the whole incident. There was a fan who was there on the third row. He was at the third row. He said that nobody knew what happened, but he understood that something wrong happened as he saw real EMTs, and he saw Jerry the King Lawler go into the ring, and then it was out the ring. Like Jerry knew. But for JR literally try and find words to tell the fans, the audience watching at home, that something tragic like that happened. I give him credit. And the worst part is when he had to announce that Owen Hart has died. During the broadcast, actually. On when watching Over the Edge for, I think this is about the fourth time now I watched it. WWE Network has officially cut that part out. They have cut that part out, so you don't hear Jr. saying those words. You don't even hear like the situation when that, like, even the match coming on or whatever. And it's important for for them not to put that out there because of how tragic that situation is, and even at the beginning of the telecast of the whenever you click on the pay per view, the first thing they show is he passed away during the broadcast. Like I said, Jr. had to say all those things to basically keep people especially at home, like he was basically wasting airtime at the time because the pay per view. There's no commercial breaks and there's no nothing, and he has the job to say, "Hey guys, like this is what's going on. We're gonna keep you updated." When he doesn't even know what's going on. And then, again, I said Martha Hart is the second like strongest person I saw due to I don't say saw, but I have much more respect for. I never knew about her. I thought she was bitter at the WWE, but I understand why now she's bitter at the WWE. I always thought that she just mad that the day, like, I thought it was a freak accident for the whole time. All the time I thought it was a freak accident, but understanding what happened and what led up to it, I understand why for so long she was so quiet. She wasn't trying to be bothered. But for Martha Hart, a child that was about 5 years old, another child that was about 2 years old, for her to raise those children, and now those children, the Oj is becoming a lawyer, and Athena is now a journalist. I commend you. I commend you, Martha. And then for her to be so strong, and then she said the time she became strong, she was crying hysterically up until the funeral, and then she went to go see. She saw Owen, and his hair comforted her, and ever since then she was strong. She did the lawsuit. She was fighting, literally fighting with Mr. McMahon. But to be honest, she was fighting a fight that she wasn't gonna receive the outcome she wanted. As in Talk Is Jericho, she says that the biggest thing that her lawyer told her was that this whole lawsuit is about money. It's a whole lawsuit about money. Nobody will be criminally charged, and that's what Martha Hart wanted. And that's when she was like, okay, let me try and make some good out of it. And she made the Owen Hart Foundation. She made the Owen Hart Foundation. The last words Owen said, instead of saying help, instead of saying F, mother effer, what the, he says, look out. He says, look out. Those words are chilling. I know if I was, especially the referee that was scheduled for that match, Jimmy Corderas, hearing those words, I feel like hearing those words would be difficult to this day. I know I'll be hearing them over and over again. So now we learned in the Dark Side of the Ring. We learned about what a great person Owen Hart was. The tragedy, after the tragedy, the lawsuit, and how the Owen Hart family, Martha Hart, Athena Hart, Oj Hart, have been dealing post Owen Hart. What was more shaking is actually watching the event after watching the Dark Side. So I told you guys I've seen Over the Edge a few times. The first time I seen Over the Edge was about 10 and a half years old, 11 years old, and I seen the clips of when they pan out to the crowd to make sure that they don't see what's going on in the ring. Jr. trying to waste airtime about like what's going on and all that stuff because they really can't do nothing. They had to make sure that this man's all right. But there's two things I didn't notice, and then it wasn't until Martha said it on the Dark Side of the Ring documentary where I was like, I need to look at this again. She was like, people were literally walking, wrestling on the area that Owen Hart passed away. So Owen Hart passed away. It was supposed to be the third match. That was when he fell. So the first match had X-Pac and Kane going up against Mark Henry and D'Lo Brown. The second match was the hardcore match. Hardcore Holly against Al Snow. And then that incident happened. And then the next match after that was Jeff Jarrett and Deborah going against Val Venus, and I forget the girl's name, but it's a bodybuilder. And watching the match first of all, if you guys know wrestling, usually the way the steps are diagonal. So you'll have a step going. So if you're walking to the ring, the steps will be on your left side. So you have to make the entrance to your left side, and then you go up the ring. And I think that's from theater. But because of the incident, they had to switch. So the ring steps were on this side. So on the right side, you had to go to the right side because there was such a dent. So basically, the ring is like this. The ring is like this at the beginning of the time, and then now there's a little dent on there. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, I'm about to show you guys a picture right now of before, during the X-Pac and Kane match, and then during the Val Venus and Jeff Jarrett match. And you can literally see the blood. You can see the blood in that area. That's Owen Hart's blood. I was watching both matches. They said that Mark Henry was bleeding in the mouth, but that's not a lot of blood to have scraped on the ring. And the hardcore match, Al Snow and Hardcore Holly, there was no blood in that match. So that's Owen Hart's blood. And then watching the rest of that pay-per-view, I missed a few matches. I missed like the Billy Gunn Road Dogg match. But watching practically the whole pay-per-view, people are like running, like they're running to the turnbuckle on that side. And that's just like, it made me feel disgusting even watching it. I think that the WWE should have canceled the show. I understand in the podcast with the fan that's seen it, he didn't see exactly like him falling, but he's seen like the aftermath and he's seen the paramedics and all that stuff. He said that half of the fans didn't understand that what happened. So for them to cancel the rest of the show would have been an injustice because nobody understood what was going on. And then, back then, there's no social media, so you don't understand. You wouldn't get an alert about, Owen Hart fell or whatever, or the report later that Owen Hart died. Only the people watching it on pay-per-view on television that night, I believe, understood that Owen Hart passed away because JR said it. And then if you guys have ever been to any live event that's televised, you don't hear the commentators during those things. But I still feel like it should have been canceled. Definitely the Raw, the Monday Night Raw after should have been canceled. I heard Val Venus in his interview stated that Vince told them the situation and what happened the next day and told them, hey, if you guys do not want to wrestle tonight, I understand. Take your time and agree, because that is a tragic situation. That was your brother. That was literally your brother that just fell to his death. And it hurts. It's disheartening. But like I said, at the end of the day, I don't see Mr. McMahon as anything different. Mr. McMahon is just a guy that he's just a businessman. He does have a heart. He does have a heart, but he is business over everything. At the end of the day, another chilling thing that I researched was I heard X-Pac talking about it. X-Pac says that the cape got caught somewhere, and like he kind of, it seemed like he says that Owen kind of panicked, and then Owen tried to fix the cape, but the cape, instead of fixing the cape, he pulled the thing. But then Martha in the Dark Side of the Ring says that Owen, they told Owen the directions before he actually started going. It's like, whatever you do, don't touch the. It was supposed to be a release, I believe. And Martha said that he never pulled the release thing. I'm not saying that Xbox is lying, but that's probably what Xbox heard, because Xbox said that he did not see the fall. He did not see the fall at all. But at the end of the day, something devastating did happen. I'm happy that the Dark Side of the Ring gave light to this situation, because this is a situation that I know, me personally, as a big wrestling fan and someone that has seen like the full broadcast of it. Not live. I didn't see it live. I saw it I was 10 years old. So around 2007, around that 2006, 2007. So about, what is that, about 8, 9 years after the situation. I feel like now, 2019 made it 20 years after the situation. So 21 years later, I feel like that thing is still prevalent. That thing is a situation where I feel like a lot of people need to know and understand it. And RIP Owen Hart. Martha, you're one of the strongest women. You're one of the strongest women I've ever seen. I haven't seen you in the flesh. I haven't met you either, but you're one of the strongest women ever. Raising your kids like that, losing the love of your life, that is in that way too, and then having to fight, having to struggle to try and gain something, to gain accountability. That's what she kept talking about in Talk Is Jericho, the Dark Side. Accountability. WWE needs to be accountable. But like I said, Owen Hart, RIP Owen Hart. Dark Side of the Ring is very important to watch, especially if you love wrestling like I do. And RIP Owen Hart, man. If you guys watch that episode of Dark Side of the Ring, you guys, I recommend you guys should watch every episode of Dark Side of the Ring, because every episode is informative, and it sheds light on a lot of things that you may have thought that you'll never hear about. So like one example is like the Chris Benoit situation. I'm not gonna go too in depth with that, but the Chris Benoit situation is something that even I had a bunch of questions about, and it's sickening like what happened to that. But that Owen Hart thing, especially if you watch that Owen Hart episode, after watching that episode, if you have WWE Network, please watch the Over the Edge. I mean, it's gonna be hard to watch it after watching the Dark Side of the Ring, but it will put things into so much context, and how these guys needed to stop the show was so important, and they didn't. Like I said, I'm not saying that Mr. McMahon is wrong, because I don't know how you stop the show like that, but it's just tough. That's a tough situation. Man. That's a tough situation. But what do you guys think? Please go out and watch Dark Side of the Ring. I'm not being sponsored by Dark Side of the Ring or anything, but I believe that show, that series is something that wrestling fans should watch. But what do you guys think about it? Do you guys think that criminal charges should have been brought on Mr. McMahon? Should Mr. McMahon have just canceled the whole show? I do think he should have, but what do you guys think, man? This is Gerald Cadet. This is the Corner Store. And like always, guys, I'm just trying to start the conversation. Like, share, and subscribe to this video. And we'll be back with another episode. RIP Owen Hart.